what was kind of like your takeaway? Because I saw a lot of Detroit Pistons fans saying like, "Hey, if Giannis is available, the Pistons should go all in." I mean, do you think the Pistons should be looking at a Giannis, a guy that's a top 5 player and a former MVP?
So here's the interesting thing about a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade conversation, right? Number one, Giannis, without a doubt, on the short list, top 3 at the very least of best players in the world when he's healthy and when he has everything going. He's one of those guys where you have to at least pick up the phone and hear what they're looking for as far as a trade offer goes. Here's a couple of things I would implore Pistons fans to keep in mind when having a discussion about a Giannis trade. The first thing I would say is when Trajan was brought into Detroit, the Pistons actually tried to interview general manager John Horst before they tried to interview Trajan Langdon. And the Milwaukee Bucks actually declined that interview request for the Pistons to interview their general manager. So if that's how the Bucks were with the Pistons just about a front office executive,
Yeah.
I wonder how they're going to be about their franchise player. That's number one. Now let's say we clear that barrier. The Bucks aren't worried about division rivals or about Giannis ending up in the same conference. Like, let's say those things aren't the concern. Let's get to trade package, because this is where things get really complicated, because more than likely the Bucks, the way that they have set things up for themselves is they are like insane levels of, like, when you just look at, like, they don't own any of their picks. They don't have any cap space. There's no incentive for the Milwaukee Bucks to be bad. Truly.
Yeah.
For years. At least until, I think literally there's no incentive for them to be bad until 2032. Legitimately. I think every year until then, they have either a first round pick that they don't own the right to, or they swapped the pick so they're going to get the worst of whatever the pick value is. So all that to be said, if they're going to trade Giannis, they either need to get really good players back. So Asar, Ron, like they're going to be asking, like, for Ivy, Asar, like they're going to be asking for multiple young prospects on top of the picks that the Pistons have. Now, in part, I think what makes a Pistons deal less interesting to Milwaukee is the fact that if you trade Giannis to Detroit and you get Detroit's picks back, well, those picks aren't going to be very good, because you're going to have Cade Cunningham and Giannis on the same team for years. In theory, that's going to be an awesome regular season team at the very least. So those picks are going to be awful as far as like value. The other piece of that is, as well as, you really, for Detroit, why they might not be as eager is, I don't know if you really want to give up, like Asar and probably an Isaiah Stewart, and like by the time you trade Giannis, trade for Giannis, what's the supporting cast that you have around him? So when I look at teams that are like interesting Giannis teams, you have to look at teams like Atlanta, where they own like a lot of other teams' picks. You have to look like San Antonio, where they own young prospects and other teams' picks, right? Like those are the types of teams that are probably gonna have the best chance to get Giannis, because they can give Milwaukee a really enticing package while also still fielding a good team around him. And I just don't think Detroit can do both.
I agree with what you said. The reason why I wanted to touch on this is because Pistons fans are very funny. Anytime a superstar is available, they are like, let's trade for him, right? It's just like death taxes and a superstar's available, let's trade for him, right? That's Pistons fans with just when a superstar wants out or it's available. And like, I get it. You want to pair Cade Cunningham with a top 5 player, former MVP, but it's going to be expensive. We touched on the second apron. Um, and when you look at Giannis's contract, he signed a max deal. I mean, Cade and Giannis would be your team. You still have some guys that are on rookie deals, but you're eventually going to have to pay them. I think your team would be gutted. Your depth wouldn't be as strong as it is currently. You would have very little guys on your bench. You'd probably have a bunch of G leaguers that you converted to two ways or just vet minimums or try to sign, aging vets and vet minimums. I don't think Detroit is a Giannis team. Now, you mentioned Atlanta. I've heard Atlanta thrown out there. A lot of the teams that I've heard thrown out there have multiple draft picks. Like I've heard San Antonio, which I think would just be unfair.
Yep.
San Antonio has a bunch of picks from other teams.
Yep.
I've heard teams like Golden State kind of being thrown out there. I mean, Steph Curry and Giannis had said that they wanted to team up at some point. I mean, if you give freaking Steph Curry, Giannis, I will crash out. I'm just saying right now, I will crash out. I mean,
like, who would they even have though? Like, who's there? Like, oh, cool, we got Brandon Pajemski.
I think you would have to do like a 3-team trade. You'd have to get like maybe the Phoenix Suns involved. Like maybe send Jimmy Butler to Phoenix, reroute Kuminga, Moses Moody, and the Warriors have some draft picks, but I feel like the Bucks, if they are going to move on from Giannis, they probably know that the draft picks that they're getting aren't going to be lottery bound. They probably want proven players back, right?
Yep.
That's why I think the Knicks make sense, even though they had conversations. Like I saw a trade package involving like Karl Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby till Milwaukee, which I think would be a good package. Like if you don't want to start from ground zero, you still want to be somewhat competitive in Milwaukee. Like I think those are the type of players that they'll probably be looking at. They'll be looking for proven players personally.
Right.
I think where Detroit's at, they're in a very good spot because they have a young core that's building. I think eventually they will make a big splash like this, but I just don't think the time right now makes a whole lot of sense for a team that just got to the playoffs last year. I know a lot of Pistons fans want to go all in for a move. I understand that. I get it. I just don't think Giannis is the player that this front office is like really zeroing on in to pair next to Cade Cunningham for the next 5 years.
And to me, it's not even like let's say all that organizational stuff wasn't there, right? Like because I think if I'm a Pistons fan who's been waiting for that star for a long time, if I'm like putting myself in the headspace of that person, I'd be hearing this conversation. And I think one of the questions I could see them like screaming at their TV right now is, if you don't trade for Giannis, then who do you trade for? Right? Like, I think like if you're thinking of like the quality of player and like the guy that could like get you over the hump, like from that concept, I understand where people are coming from. Right? I think you just have to throw in, like, unfortunately, this is not in a bubble. This is the reality of, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, like, if you're making this trade, there's a very realistic chance you're not getting a Giannis again, like, for at least a decade. At least, based off of how things are going right now. There's very legitimate chances that they could be waiting another 1 or 2 decades on top of that. It took them about 40 or 50 years to get Giannis after Lou Alcindor, now known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, left Milwaukee. Okay, so like when we're talking about the fears and the things that go into some of these decision making, this is real. Okay, so like I think when you just throw in all those aspects, plus just the other thing of, if you're trading your star player, like Milwaukee, why in God's green earth would you want to have to see that player 4 times a year?
Right.
Like realistically, like one of the worst things about the Luka trade for Mavericks fans is that you have to see Luka 4 times a year. Plus, if you're going to be making the playoffs, you have to go through him now too. You know, like that's like if you're a Bucks fan, like at least send them to the West, so that whatever fake conceptions I have of us being anything, I don't have to think about. Like I don't have to think about him being in the way of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, if he does get dealt, which I'm not really sure if he does or not. It's just been like I can't remember the last time that there was like a MVP, like a top 5 player, arguably when he's healthy, like asked for a trade. Like obviously, like Luca never really asked for a trade. He just got traded,
Like
and he didn't.
Durant.
Yeah, I mean, like
But even
even
then, was he really that guy when he asked for the trade?
I mean, he was coming off an injury. I mean, it's just so weird because you hear 2 different sides of, like, what is actually going on behind the scenes. Like, I know Chris Haynes said that he had talked to Giannis, and Giannis is like, "No, he's like, I wanna be in Milwaukee." He's like, "I wanna build this thing through." I mean, Giannis had talked about not taking the easy way out. I feel like a lot of Bucks fans would dig that tweet up, that
Yeah,
interview up. Him saying, like, "The way I won this championship is, the hard way." He's like, "I value the hard way." If you go to a team that's, like, stacked with young talent or draft picks. Like I think a lot of Bucks fans would bring it up, but
yeah.
just to circle back for Pistons fans, I don't think that the organization is looking to trade Giannis.